who is the richest person in the world, you will probably say Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, as you might think that they have the fortunes so vast that they could never be topped. But there are some peoples in the distant past whose wealth is so enormous that it can make Bill and Warren to bend down on their knees. So, who are the richest people to have ever lived? Digging through research done by Business Insider, Celebrity Net Worth, and Yahoo Finance, we compiled a list of top 10 richest peoples to have ever walked on the earth. There are likely many historical figures like Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, King Solomon, numerous Roman emperors, Egyptian pharaohs, and popes who have controlled huge fortunes. Yet there is no real way to put a dollar figure on those fortunes. For this list, we took people whose wealth was self-controlled by a single person, hence we omitted the Rothschilds, who deserve to be on the list but were omitted as their wealth was spread among different individuals. Starting off at number 10. Cornelius Vanderbilt, the Commodore. One of the most famous names in American history was built by Cornelius Vanderbilt, a man who came to fortune through the building of railroads and shipping lines during 1800s. His single slow-dopping ferry expands to an ocean-going fleet and he becomes synonymous with shipping, earning the nickname Commodore. Defeating many monopolies along the way, he creates the largest shipping empire in the world. But before the Civil War, he sells nearly everything to invest in the new railways, believing they'll unite America. During his heyday, Cornelius Vanderbilt's wealth reached an approximate $185 billion. But 6 generations later, the enterprises he founded are no longer in the family. CNN anchor Anderson Cooper is the 6th-generation descendant of the Vanderbilt's family, and the exact reason of the lost money is still unknown. Number 9. Henry Ford. This man doesn't need any introduction. Ford, of course, is known for founding Ford Motor Company and bringing automobiles to the masses. A transportation revolutionary, he also was a trailblazer in industry and business, instituting higher wages for his workers and developing the concept of the assembly line, which allowed for the manufacture of inexpensive goods that the masses could afford. Who can forget Model T, which stands an example of Ford's enormous success? He is certainly one of the major figures in American business history. Henry Ford was able to put together a net worth totaling around $199 billion and died in April 7, 1947. Number 8. Muammar Gaddafi. Gaddafi was a politician who ruled Libya for 42 years. He became the Libyan Arab Republic's revolutionary chairman in 1969, a highly controversial and divisive politician and ruler. Gaddafi was famously overthrown in 2011 during the Libyan civil war, when he was dragged into the streets and killed by the revolutionaries. Muammar Gaddafi's iron-fisted rule over Libya's oil fields made up the rest of his net worth. After his death in 2011, reports surfaced that Muammar Gaddafi was secretly the wealthiest person in the world with a net worth of $200 billion. In the months surrounding his death, nearly $70 billion in cash was seized in foreign bank accounts and real estate. The remaining wealth was reportedly not recovered yet. Number 7. William the Conqueror. William is best known for becoming the first Norman king of England. William reigned from 1066 until 1087. He was most famous for invading and subsequently seizing England in 1066. He was also known as William the Bastard and is thought to have been a descendant of Viking invaders. When you spend a lifetime conquering other kingdoms, you tend to acquire quite a bit of money. In William's case, when he died, he left the equivalent of $229.5 billion to his sons. Some of his wealth was given as gifts to some churches and some wealth was distributed to the poor. Number 6. Jacob Fugger, a relatively obscure historical figure compared to many other members of the world's wealthiest. Jacob Fugger was a German banker who inherited a trade and banking business from his father. He is well known for using his fortune to lend money to many of Europe's rulers. He loaned Charles V gold in order to secure his election as Holy Roman Emperor. Charles would then go on to give the Fugger family noble rank and grant them sovereign rights over their lands and also allowing them to mint their own money. That's how he gained a staggering $221 billion and eventually owned extensive real estate, merchant fleets and palatial establishments throughout Europe. He was the first documented millionaire, and the first businessman to compile a comprehensive financial statement for his business. 17 generations later, during World War II, his descendants were still living off income derived from the business he built. Number 5. Mir Osman Ali Khan, the Nizam of Hyderabad. Mir Osman Ali Khan, also known as the Nizam of Hyderabad, was the ruler of Hyderabad until the country was invaded by neighbor India in 1948. He was undoubtedly one of the wealthiest people the world has ever known. He accumulated all the riches from mining. Until 1900, Golconda in Hyderabad state was the only supplier of diamonds for the global market. World's most famous diamond Kohinoor was mined in Hyderabad itself. Mir Osman Ali Khan had a personal collection of gold that was worth more than $100 million, and owned over $400 million worth of jewels, including the famous Jacob diamond, which is worth $95 million today. Khan used the diamond as a paperweight in his office. He died in 1967 with a total net worth around $230 billion. Number 4. Nikolai Alexandrovich Romanov. Nikolai Alexandrovich Romanov, who is famously known as Tsar Nicholas II, was the last emperor of Russia. He ruled Russia from 1894 to 1917. He gained all his wealth through inheritance and monarchy. Russia was heavily defeated by Japan during his reign. At last, World War I eventually sealed the fate of the royal family and all his riches. He and his family was murdered publicly by Bolsheviks, as he is considered as the sole reason for Russia's participation in World War I. In 1916, Tsar Nicholas II's net worth was nearly $900 million, which is the inflation-adjusted equivalent to $300 billion today. Number 3. Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie, an incredibly wealthy and powerful industrialist, came to prominence during the mid-1800s by way of the steel industry. Having been born in Scotland, Carnegie came from a very poor family that entered the U.S. in the late 1840s. He founded the United States Steel Corporation and sold it to J.P. Morgan for $480 million in 1901. That equates to a peak net worth equivalent to $310 billion today. Carnegie took home $230 million worth of gold bonds and received a 5% annual coupon too. After selling his company, Carnegie retired from business life and dedicated his time to charity. He gave away the majority of his fortune during his lifetime, and his final $30 million was donated after his death. Many universities and foundations still bear his name today. Number 2. John D. Rockefeller. Born in 1839 in New York, John D. Rockefeller is well known as the richest American who ever lived, and also famous for revolutionizing the petroleum industry. He built an oil refinery in Cleveland, Ohio, which would later become the Standard Oil Trust. At its peak, Standard Oil Trust was refining over 90% of the world's oil. It dominated American oil production and was eventually broken up from the U.S. government for being a monopoly. Standard Oil was broken into smaller companies that you probably recognize today: Amoco, Chevron, Conoco, and ExxonMobil. At the time of his death in 1937, Rockefeller was worth the equivalent of $340 billion in today's dollars. Rockefeller was the first American to ever have a net worth over $1 billion. Number 1. Mansa Musa. 1. Far and away the richest man to ever walk the face of the earth was Musa I of Mali. Musa lived from 1280 to 1337 and ruled the Malian Empire, which covered modern-day Ghana, Timbuktu and Mali in West Africa. Mansa Musa's shocking wealth came from his country's vast production of more than half of the world's supply of salt and gold at the time. As the reigning emperor of the Mali Empire, Musa commanded a fortune worth a jaw-dropping $400 billion. His kingdom and wealth didn't last much longer after his death. His heirs were not able to fend off civil war and invading conquerors. Just 2 generations later, his world record net worth was gone.
So, that's all for now. Subscribe to this channel for more amazing videos about antiques and history. Until next time.